Black Goose TV family, what is happening with it? I'm back at it again. Fluenceboxing is in the building. We here to chop it up. We talking about all the things that need to be talked about when it comes to the boxing community. Now, for real, I just want to say salute, shout out to the people. We up in this thing. I don't know if any of y'all was wondering, like, is he finna go live tonight? It's getting a little late, all this type of good stuff. It's going towards the weekend. So, you know, your boy, he can hop on a little bit later. Now, to be for real, I had a busy ass day. I literally just got home maybe like 15, 20 minutes ago. I definitely wanted to go on earlier for this joint. But, you know, at the end of the day, life is life. You got things you got to get taken care of. And at the end of the day, if it ends up taking a little bit longer than you expected, that's okay. Just make sure you still do what you're supposed to do. And that's what I'm here for right now. I'm doing what I said I was supposed to do. I'm doing what needs to be done. Fluenceboxing. You know what I'm saying? Here we are, baby. Just make sure you still do what you're supposed to do. And that's what I'm here for right now. I'm doing. Sorry about the feedback right there. I had to make sure, obviously, the sound sounds good. And the sound does sound good. It sounds crispy. It sounds great. So we up in this thing, man. We got a good topic to talk about tonight. First and foremost, if y'all come up in here, man, please hit that like button, man. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Get Black Goose TV back in the algorithm. Get us back up in this thing. Let's be one of the biggest boxing channels this year. Then number two, if you're not part of the Black Goose family, man, please subscribe to the channel. What other YouTube page treats they family the way we do? All right. This whole thing is geared toward y'all, your opinion, how y'all feel about things. So, you know what I'm saying? We're all about interaction here, man. So if you come up in this thing, you're not part of the family, be sure to go ahead and be part of the family and subscribe to this joint, man. Don't miss out on that. And then last but not least, of course, my bad, y'all. And then, of course, last but not least, man, go ahead, hit the notification gang, because we're coming out with a lot of content this year. So you want to go ahead and hit that notification. So every time we go live, every time we drop a video, anytime, you know, we drop music, whatever it may be, you guys know it happened. And that notification alerts you. And then last but not least, comment. I am going to be drilling this. I'm going to be repeating this. I'm going to be shouting it out the rooftops. Black Goose family, I want you guys to comment. I want you guys to comment every single video. I don't care if you disagree with me, agree with me. You love what I'm doing, you hate what I'm doing. Let me hear your opinion. Drop it in the comments below. So that's my spill to start this thing off. You already know. And let's get into it, man. Let's get right into it. You already know what it is, man. Y'all see the topic, what we talking about. Now I know already, because I'm speaking about a particular person. And you already know who I'm talking about, Canelo Alvarez, right? So I'm either going to get a lot of hate, I'm either going to get a lot of love, because, you know, Canelo's fan base is so, it's on another level, man. Canelo's fan base is bigger than the Beehive, you know what I'm saying? So you got to watch what you say about Canelo, but I ain't got no time to be watching what I say, and I let them things come out, and y'all can go ahead and decipher and feel the way you feel about it, because I don't bring nothing but the truth, and at the end of the day, I ain't finna try and change my opinion based off of someone not feeling a certain way. But I do want to, you know, if you disagree with anything I got to say about this topic, man, go ahead and drop it into comment. But no reason to keep y'all waiting any longer, right? It's Thursday night. Hopefully y'all chilling back. Y'all can watch this, you know what I'm saying, laying on the bed, whatever it may be, eating your popcorn, however much. Hopefully I'm going to be able to entertain you to the point where you enjoy this. And, you know, at the end of the day, hopefully I get you a little bit triggered. Because if I get you a little bit triggered, that means I'm saying something that you ain't never even expecting me to say, right? But let's get into it, man. I don't know if you guys were able to catch my short video that I dropped earlier in the day in reference to the Canelo Alvarez situation. Obviously, Canelo is somebody everybody talks about. Every boxing channel was talking about it. Every boxing channel has the topic. They probably already spoke about it or plan to do a video about it. You know, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest topics of the sport is Canelo at all time. Doesn't matter what you're referencing, it doesn't matter what's going on. If you got Canelo in the title, if you're talking about Canelo, you're going to get eyes drawn, you're going to get people watching, because obviously Canelo's fan base is on a whole nother level. He's technically the new Floyd, or the Floyd of my generation, right? So what are we going to be getting into? What are we going to be touching on? Well, as you guys should already know, Canelo has been presented with two different deals for this year, all right? Because obviously Canelo, he controls his own fate. So ultimately, at the end of the day, Canelo gets to decide who he wants to fight now. Obviously, this is very, as a boxing fan, you know, this is very apparent. This is nothing that is new when it comes to breaking news, because he's left Golden Boy a while ago. Obviously, since he's left Golden Boy, one of the main, I won't say one of the main, let me take that back, but who he's done most of his business with since leaving Golden Boy has been Eddie Hearn and Dazn. They have treated him absolutely amazing since leaving Golden Boy, gave him favorable matchups, however you want to call it, or at least gave him the matchups that he was looking for with the money priced at the right time, right? So Eddie Hearn has kind of been the guy in the zone, the guy, the entity, the promotional company that Canelo has been leaning toward since the Golden Boy era has ended, right? But then we did see the anomaly, right? We saw something that a lot of people didn't think we would get, the Caleb Plant fight, right? We never thought Canelo Alvarez would ever, one, fight a PBC guy, two, fight a PBC guy where it was a co-promotion with PBC. Now, please understand what I'm saying. Listen closely, because we're getting serious now. But 5 minutes, 6 minutes in, the first 6 minutes, you can go ahead and skip all that bullshit. If all you came in here for was to listen to boxing news, to understand what I'm about to say when it comes to regard to boxing, skip that first 6 minutes. Now we're here. Now we're talking this shit, right? So obviously, when Canelo and the Caleb Plant fight was announced, everyone was like, "Oh shit, Canelo's fighting on a PBC card." On the PBC network, right? Obviously, there's a lot of small details that you will have to understand when it comes to the boxing business when it comes to that happening. So Caleb Plant was an anomaly. Why was he an anomaly when it came to this? Obviously, Canelo's not fighting for a PBC. It was a one-fight deal. One-fight deal with the rematch clause in there because Canelo requested it. If he lost to Caleb, there would be a rematch, right? If Caleb lost, there's no rematch, right? So obviously, if we look in the grand scheme of things, I'm going somewhere with this guy. So go ahead and hold tight, sit tight, put the seatbelt on, and go ahead, ride with me when it comes to this. So obviously, Canelo has had a plan previously to leaving Oscar De La Hoya. He had something that he wanted to take care of, and he wanted to get done. And he knew, him and his team knew that there's no way they can do this with Golden Boy. Golden Boy is going to keep them back, right? So let's leave Golden Boy. Now we're going to align our forces somewhat with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is the guy who's willing to shell out the money. He's willing to I talked about this in the podcast yesterday, in the Fluenceboxing yesterday. He's willing to sacrifice. I won't say sacrifice, but he's willing to put some of his best fighters on the line in order to build up his brand, his promotional company, to build up the zone. And even though his best fighter in his stable that's going to make him the most money may take this L fighting a guy like Canelo, he's willing to take that chance because he understands the long-term relationship that he can have with someone like Canelo will be more beneficial than saying, "Hey, I don't want you to fight my best guy right now. I'd rather you fight this guy." And Canelo may be like, "Well, people are going to be looking at me crazy," if that makes sense to you, right? So listen closely. So Eddie Hearn is willing to do this. Because Eddie Hearn is willing to do this, you see Canelo go, the first person he's going to have his first promotional fight outside of Golden Boy is with him. We've also seen Eddie Hearn do this with a couple other fighters I've talked about. If there's anything that I give Eddie Hearn is great at grabbing a fighter who's already somewhat established, especially someone who has a big American fan base or a fan base outside of the UK. He's very good at grabbing them and supporting them to an extent where he doesn't mind growing their brand. What's good with it, snipers? Salute to you, brother. I got a late night stream going on. Happy you was able to hop up in here, brother. But he's really Eddie Hearn is shown to be very good at that, right? And you've seen it numerous times. That's why I'm surprised he's not fighting against Terrence Crawford. But the reason I feel like he's not fighting against Terrence Crawford because he understands he has nobody in the welterweight division where he can build up someone like a Terrence Crawford. He understands the welterweight division is ruled by PBC, and PBC at the end of the day is not going to they're not going to accept any terms that make sense for Matchroom when it comes to Terrence Crawford, because Crawford's not that big of a person. Now we're talking about Canelo, though. So Canelo, yes, they're willing to do that, which we saw with Caleb Plant, right? If it makes money, it makes sense. Canelo is literally the biggest thing walking when it comes to boxing. So PBC is like, hey, you want to fight Caleb Plant? That's the guy you're looking for. Let's try and make something work out. If you guys remember when it came to that fight, at first it was going to fall through. Or reportedly, that was the rumors. Magically, it got saved and it ended up happening, right? And a lot of the things that was being speculated, I don't know how much it was true, but part of the reason why it seemed like it wasn't going to happen or it wasn't going to end up going through was simply because PBC was biting themselves in the ass and they was trying to force Canelo into a 2-fight deal. Like, hey, if you want to come over here, you got to fight Caleb Plant, and even if you beat him now afterwards, you got to fight David Benavidez. Like, that was the rumors that were speculated during that time. And that's why Canelo was like, nah, bro, you ain't finna strong on me. I'm my own promotional company. Ultimately, PBC, like, hey, we ain't finna lose out on this one Canelo promotion. Let's go ahead and make it happen, because obviously I've told y'all before, Caleb Plant, as good as a fighter he is expendable to PBC, because they understand they can only make so much money off Caleb Plant. They're not going to do that with the David Benavidez. They're not going to do that with the Jamal Charlo, right? We saw that with Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford. That Sean Porter-Terrence Crawford fight would have never have happened if PBC didn't know previously that Sean Porter was going to retire after that fight no matter what. They knew he wasn't fighting anymore, so they said, Sean Porter, go ahead. We're going to accept this fight with you and Terrence Crawford, and we'll make whatever money left that we can make from you. PBC is literally the UFC of boxing. These guys want to do whatever they can to try and build up the stable of fighters that they have in their promotional company, give an illusion of air as if they have the best guys. So now when we're looking at these other promotional companies, or we're looking at someone who's outside of a PBC, like a Terrence Crawford, we want to question how good he is, because we're saying, well, you're not fighting the best welterweights. They're all over at PBC, which is absolutely not true. That's just marketing at its finest, right? But I'm not going to go too deep into that. Basically, what I am saying is that the reason why PBC was willing to do the Caleb Plant and Canelo fight was because Caleb was expendable to an extent. He can lose to the greatest in Canelo, especially if he gets a great fight, and still be profitable over in PBC. Okay? Jamal Charlo, not so much. Right? Because there's a little bit more clout behind Charlo. Right? Too many people for too many times, too long, have been saying Charlo is the kryptonite of Canelo. So if Charlo loses to Canelo, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Caleb Plant loses to Canelo, you're not leaving. Really, actually, you actually probably building up Caleb Plant's legacy more so by losing to Canelo than actually not having the fight happen. So technically now, I bet you Caleb Plant's next fight with PBC will generate more money than it would have if he never fought Canelo, right? So that's business. Sniper said, man, this generation of new fighters stress me out. If I was still fighting, I would give all these guys work and sparring. But see, that's the thing. Right? I agree with you. But that's the thing about this new generation of fighting. It's become such a business. It's become such based off of marketing, the look of things. It doesn't matter if you have a skilled fighter who's willing to spar with someone and is giving them the work. He's obviously better than the other fighter. At the end of the day, and this has always been the case to an extent, but it's even more so now, if the money isn't behind them, if it doesn't make sense, good luck, sir. You know what I'm saying? Good luck. And that's the new way. It's like the same way we're seeing a shift and a change in like basketball, you know what I'm saying, football. It's the same thing that's happening in boxing, but it's just the thing about boxing is we have so many old heads in boxing, right? That we just want to just stick to what it used to be. But we have to acknowledge like this is a different game now, people. The same way that, you know, narratives drive business when it comes to the NBA and football, and maybe not so much the actual competition, boxing is taking the same turn, because we have podcasts, we have analysts, we have all these different outlets where people are more interested in someone creating a narrative, creating a beef within the sport to get us invested in it more so than the actual fight. So if we're looking at the situation that Canelo is in at this current, moment, where he has two different deals on the table, allegedly, one from PBC, right, for Charlo and Benavediz, close to 100 mil, or some reporting is worth 100 mil for those two fights. Then you have Dazn, where they're saying they offered about 85 mil for Bivol and Triple G. Outside looking in, depending on who you are, if you're a Canelo hater, you're saying, oh, he's not going to fight Charlo and Benavediz because they're the best fighters in the world, and PBC, If you're a Canelo lover, you're going to be saying Canelo's not ducking anybody. He's going to fight whoever he thinks is the best fight for him, or at least to build his legacy, similar to what Eddie Hearn said. But if you're in the middle, you understand at the end of the day, It's all going to come down to business and money. I don't care when Eddie Hearn had an article, and I'm going to respond to that guy in the video. He said, what was the interview where Eddie Hearn basically alluded to, Canelo, he's going to make his decision on what offer by the end of the week, most likely, and et cetera, et cetera. That was on the Dazn boxing show. I'm going to comment back so you can go check that out. But that's why I'm saying, like, with Eddie Hearn trying to allude to, Canelo's more focused on what makes more sense for his legacy than money. I just don't believe that, right? It's a mixture of both. What two guys can I fight that will add to my legacy, but also what two guys will I fight that financially and marketing wise make sense? Sniper said, Southpaw 773. I don't think so. Is that a channel or something like that? Explain to me, Snipers. Break it down for me. But I'm like, that's why when it comes to that particular case, I'm like, it comes down to what makes money, what makes sense, but also marketing. So it's not in the moment. Legacy is something that's a long-term look. So legacy is something 10 years from now, we're going to look at Canelo's resume and we're just going to look at the guys he's fought and we're going to be like, oh, impressive. So in essence, whether he fights, whether he takes the deal with PBC of Charlo and Benavediz, whether he takes the deal of Bivol and Triple G, 10 years from now, either one is going to look great on his resume. I don't care what no one's saying. Anybody who's trying to tell me, he's ducking those PBC guys. Look, Bivol and Triple G, if you want me to be honest, actually, they're going to look better on his resume, legacy-wise, 10 years from now than Jamal Charlo and David Benavediz. This might hurt some people's feelings. This might, but that's just a fact. You want to know why that is the case? Because David Benavediz, he has a haunting past behind him, right? A lot of people don't want to talk about this, but David Benavediz, he's just now kind of working his way back up where everyone's like believing in him again as being the key or the future of the super middleweight division because he's still young as shit. But like, let's not act like there was a moment in time where David Benavediz dropped the ball and we all were like, well, we don't know if he's that focused on the sport, right? But now all of a sudden, everyone's like, that guy's going to beat Canelo. Like, whether he is or he's not, at the end of the day, beating David Benavediz is not going to be bigger on his resume than beating Dimitri Bivol. Dimitri Bivol, same hype in his country, all right? We're not talking about in the U.S., and that's what a lot of U.S. fans have a problem with. They're like, Bivol isn't as big as David Benavediz. Like, he's in a whole nother country. His fan base is big over there. Beating a young gun in Bivol at light heavyweight, knowing this beat is going to be just as impressive on his resume, if not more impressive than beating the Benavediz. Okay? And then going in and shutting out Triple G for the third time, regardless if you want to say he's slow, he's not as good as he was anymore, he doesn't have the fast twitch muscles. Beating Triple G 3 times, well, technically, 2 times, he had to draw the first time. That's going to mean more and generate more money than a Jamal Charlo fight. That's just what it is. And it's just like when anyone argues with me about that, I respect it, but I also understand, okay, you're coming from a place where you have the mindset of, the PBC guys are the best. And I just respect PBC. I respect the hell out of it because their marketing is fucking amazing for boxing heads to really believe one promotional company has the best fighters. That's ludicrous, in my opinion. It's not said you're right. Triple G is a boxing legend when Bivol is light heavy. So if you go off that, it's better for. That's why I love it, Sniper. That's why I love the Black Goose family because it's like, and this is me speaking where I'm a Jamal Charlo fan, right? I'm a Charlo fan over. I'm more of a fan of Jamal Charlo than Triple G and Bivol. I'm not really even a fan of Bivol, if you want me to be real with you. I follow his fights. I know how skilled he is. But me saying, I'm a fan of Bivol, like I'd be lying. Me saying, I'm a fan of Triple G, I'd be lying, but I respect him because during Triple G's time, I was a fan of Andre Ward. So I was like, I'm not gonna cap to you guys. I'm a fan of Jamal Charlo, bigger fan of Jamel, but I'm a fan of Jamal Charlo, right? David Benavediz, I'm not really a fan of, but I respect him. He's obviously a beast. But just if you're looking at it unbiasedly for a resume fact, we're talking 10 years from now, where when we look at these legends and we don't necessarily harp on the fight, but we harp on he fought him and beat him, it's going to look better on his resume that he fought a light heavyweight in Bivol, who at this time, which is projected for, what's the date for? For May 7th, it's projected for him to fight Bivol on May 7th, who everyone thinks he's a or at least his fan base in his country. He's a stud. He's the next big thing. No one's going to beat him at the light heavyweight. He's going to be the next big thing. Like, think about, they were talking about Buatsi. They were talking about Yard, the next up and comers over there on that UK scene or overseas team. Bivol's the guy who's kind of took that reign and ran with it. Right. So him beating Bivol is just going to look a lot better on his resume. Then you're talking about Triple G, who's a legend. Just like Sniper said, he's a boxing legend. Charlo isn't a boxing legend. David Benavediz isn't a boxing legend. They have a chance to be. I'm not saying they can't, but they're not. Triple G is a boxing legend right now. So it's just hard, you know, for me to hear these guys who try to say, oh, Canelo's ducking this, Charlo and Benavediz, and he's trying to take the easy fight in Bivol and Triple G. Like, you're being biased. Like, look at it for what it is. What's good with it, Robinson Rodriguez, brother? You're right, especially since Benavediz will have several losses to B-level fighters in the next 5 years. He's just hot right now because he has flashy combinations. I don't know if he'll have several losses to B-level fighters. If PBC is smart, they know David Benavediz is a cash cow for them in the future, so they're going to match him up brilliantly. They're not going to match him up with anybody who they feel like will take away that steam away unless they see it's worth it, i.e. a Canelo Alvarez. You see David Benavediz, he's one of the few people that I've said this. I said this in the podcast yesterday, the Fluenceboxing yesterday. I was talking about Andrade. I respect Benavediz because he's one of the few guys who actually said Andrade's name, and he said, I'm willing to fight him, and he said it a couple times. But at the end of the day, PBC knows, hey, we're not going to sacrifice the chances of what Benavediz can be when it comes to the money that he can make and the illusion that he can give the fans that he's the best super middleweight out there by, you know, having him fight guys that he can possibly lose to. I actually think Benavediz is a little bit overhyped. That's what I personally think if you watch his fights. But so I kind of understand where, you know, Robinson is coming from, where, you know, he feels like there's a possibility of him losing the B-level fighters. But I'll just say right now, he's definitely hot right now. But I think Benavediz always was. If it wasn't for him having those mishaps, the missed weights, cocaine problem, all that bullshit, I think he would be a pretty goddamn prominent star at this time. And he's still young. He's the youngest dude out of all these guys we're talking about. So he's not even in his prime yet. So we can only say so much about Benavediz. But at the end of the day, there's no way that you can argue with me that he would be better on Canelo's resume than a Bivol and a Triple G. When we're talking about Triple G being a legend already, and then Bivol, obviously, in my opinion, has the same height David Benavediz had before he had the mishaps with the drugs and the missed weight. That's where Bivol's at. And Bivol doesn't show, you know, Bivol's a motherfucking straight edge guy. So, you know, his trajectory is, and that goes back into the narrative where I applaud Eddie Hearn again, where Eddie Hearn is willing to be like, all right, Canelo, I know you're the biggest guy. I know you're the future. Well, I'm gonna say the future, but you're the Floyd of this boxing thing right now. So what am I going to do? Am I going to save a guy like Bivol, keep him from possibly taking a loss? Or will I go ahead and be like, here's Bivol, you can fight him. You may beat him. It may derail the hype train behind Bivol, but I'm willing to take that chance. Eddie Hearn is the one promoter out of all of them that he does that. He throws some of the guys he throws some of these guys that he has that has the potential to make him a lot of money in the future if he just continues to hand them, you know, the soft fights or the fights they know they will win. And he's just like, wait, Canelo, you want to fight Colum Smith? You want to fight Billy Joe? You want to fight Bivol? All right, I'm going to make it happen. You want to fight Triple G again? I'm going to make it happen, right? But PBC is like, oh, you want to fight Jamal Charlo? Okay, if you fight Jamal, the only way we're going to allow that is first you need to fight Caleb Plant. Then you can have Jamal if you beat Caleb Plant and we have a rematch clause. Oh, wait, you want to fight David Benavediz? Okay, if you want to fight David Benavediz, there has to be a rematch clause in there. Then after David, you got to fight Jamal. Like these stipulations where they're like, well, if you beat my one cash cow, you got to fight the other one. So hopefully they can beat you and we can still have the money coming in long term. If you guys are following me when it comes to that, hopefully. It's not, but I honestly think Benavediz is overrated. I just don't see that factor in his game. He fights like he was forced to the sport. That's crazy. Before I even read that, I feel the same way. Like, not to be an asshole or nothing, but I do feel the same way. I do think Benavediz is overrated. I think the hype that he had first coming into the sport was legitimate, but I think just the mishaps, the time off the sport, I think just now I just feel like he just had too much attention at too early of an age, which I think kind of hindered his growth in the sport. Because when I watch when I watch his fights now compared to when, we were really hyped about him before all the mishaps, he hasn't progressed in any type of way. And that's just my opinion, right? But at the same time, some people say, hey, certain fighters, they stoop down to the level of their competition, or, you know, if they fight the right guy, they bring, you know, they show the level they're really at. That might be David Benavidez's case, especially with him being such a young guy still compared to everyone else we're talking about. But, you know, I agree with you there, Sniper. Obviously, he's good, but not that guy everyone says he is. That's how I feel too. But we do have to be somewhat lenient when it comes to David Benavidez, just for the fact that he's technically not in his prime yet, especially when it comes to boxing. I forget, you know, I'm pretty sure most people forget that he's still young as shit. I think he's only like 27, 26 years old. So I'm like, he's not even in his physical prime yet, and he's not in his mental prime yet. So there's still a possibility he's still trying to figure out to put everything together. And that's another reason why I know PBC isn't willing to just be like, oh, Canelo, you can fight David Benavidez, because they understand that too. They don't know what type of trajectory David Benavidez has. So I'm like, you're not finna just lead him out to the slaughterhouse to be slaughtered, right? If it makes money, it makes sense. So that's why also it's hard for me to be like the dispute or say, oh yeah, Canelo's gonna go with the PBC deal just because they offered 15 mil more, right? Because if there's one thing I do agree with Eddie Hearn, is it's not entirely about the money. It's about the money to an extent, but it's not entirely about the money where supposedly, oh, if DAZN offers 85 and PBC offers 100, Canelo's going to go with 100 because he's getting paid 15 mil more. Like, Canelo's not at that aspect. He's going to look at it and he's going to be like, why are they offering me 15 mil more? What stipulations did they add into their 2-fight deal where they feel like I need to add another 15 mil on to the offer I already gave you, right? And that's what we have to, that's got to be our perspective when we're looking at this. By the way, if you guys are up in here and you didn't hit the like button, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be part of the Black Goose family. And go ahead, comment. If you're not jumping in the live chat, once this is over, go ahead and comment on this thing. You know what I'm saying? So we can go back and forth. So I want to know what you think of Shakur versus Valdez. I feel like my opinion on that is pretty universal in my, you know, from my perspective. And just what I mean by that is not who's going to beat Shakur right now, right? Who's going to beat Shakur? Valdez. I feel like Shakur is going to not only have a field day with Valdez, but we're just going to see that Shakur is going to be levels above a lot of guys that he fights right now because of the promotion that he's with, Top Rank. So there's not too many people, you know, for him to offer, for him to really challenge himself. That's my opinion. I'm not saying Valdez isn't a beast, but Valdez is nowhere, you know, near Shakur's level. And Valdez is just way too small for Shakur. Way too small. Appreciate that, it's not, because I'm trying, I'm trying to revive it, dog. I'm trying to revive it. And I'm also trying to come into this with a lot more energy, you know what I'm saying? A lot more, you know, what's the good detailed when it comes to what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm trying to keep when it comes to Fluenceboxing. I'm trying to keep these things around 30 minutes. That's my new thing. So, you know, what I'm saying comes out precise and is to the point. And then I'm trying to keep the topics at least, you know, 1 or 2 at the most, so we're not all over the place and all that good stuff. Like, that's kind of the new format I'm trying to do when it comes to this. I'm trying to keep things clear, you know, concise, precise, so you guys can follow it. You guys can respond to it, disagree, agree, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? I know, bro. I know, but it's all good, man. Like, that's why this year, the whole goal, man, we're gonna grow this thing. We're gonna grow this thing, and it's like it's a part of it is my fault too, because I have to be like, because the way I think about boxing is, I'm unbiased. Like, I have my favorite fighters. Like, if you're gonna hear me talk about my favorite fighters, I'm going to talk in a very positive way. But also, I'm going to acknowledge, you know, if one of my favorite fighters, if their business side of the game is bad, that's why they are where they are. Like, if you watch the Andrade live I did yesterday, I praised Andrade obviously for his skill set, but on the business side of the game, he hasn't made the right choices. Where now you see a 33-year-old Andrade chasing the Canelo, when I don't think that should be the case. As skilled as he is and as good as he is at his age, everyone should be trying to fight him because they feel like, I need to put him on my resume so I can be looked at as the best middleweight, super middleweight, or whatever it is. But it's just like, we have to acknowledge the same way we're going into a new age with these other sports and basketball, football and stuff. It's the same thing with boxing, right? There's still this promotional bullshit going on, but with the, you know, the rise of social media and people wanting to see things, the pandemic, and then also certain fighters kind of taking their fates into their own hand. You know, we have to understand that all this shit, we got to stop saying boxers are ducking boxers, because boxers don't duck anyone at this level, right? They put in too much hard work to say, I'm too scared to fight someone. The only people who are ducking is the promoters. If the promotion isn't making the fight, then it doesn't make sense. And if it don't make sense, that means it doesn't make enough money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's it. Like, you see, I don't know if you heard, but it was reported Kambosos versus Lomachenko is supposed to be happening next. And it's like, when you see something like that, it's like, okay, boxing is just fucking hitting you with the left hook again, because if you don't understand business, everyone will be like, oh, why isn't Devin Haney getting the shot? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense. Why is Loma getting the shot, right? It makes the most sense when it comes to money and also building up a future fight. Because if Kambosos beats Loma, Kambosos versus Devin Haney is that much bigger. If Loma beats if Loma beats Kambosos, now Teofimo Lopez can come back into the game. We may have a Josh Taylor fight. Devin Haney's in it. Like, we have all these different type of options. So it's like, we have to understand that a lot of times, all the times, the fighters have no say in who they fight. They have an opinion. Hey, I would like to fight that guy over that guy. But at the end of the day, if the promotional company says, hey, that doesn't make enough money, I'd rather you fight this guy, or yeah, that will make some money, but if you lose to him in the long run, we'll lose more money than we may lose if you fight some bum, then we're not going to do it. And it's just this. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Sports. A lot of us are fanatics. A lot of us have favorite fighters. So a lot of times we don't even want to believe that or think of it that way. And we want to be so quick to insult somebody that we don't know. He's scared to fight this person. You know what I'm saying? But just in reality, it's just not what it is. It's not. I could probably join you guys on the watch long for Secure Fight if you guys are down. I really love to get my taste and yeah, man. That's the new thing I want to start doing too. I'm gonna start doing live streams. And trying to get y'all in here, because I know StreamYard can do that, where you guys can just, you know, I send a link out, you guys can come in. So that would definitely be, I'm happy you actually said that, Sniper. That's something I'm going to add to the Fluence Lounges, because since the Fluence Lounges those are the, you know, the long streams for like 2-3 hours, depending on what we're watching, that would be fire. So I'm going to be working on that especially. So salute the Snipers for that idea. I'm going to be working on getting that, at least for the Fluence Lounge. Robinson said, I do agree with most everything you said tonight. Being unbiased is not easy in a world full of fanboys. Everyone has favorite fighters. That should not blind them to reality. I agree with you completely, Robinson. Even if you do disagree with some things, like, that's fine. I feel like that's the whole point of, you know, having a great conversation, having differences of opinions and perspectives. I think it's okay to disagree and to be able to share that. It's just a lot of times I feel like people, you know, similar to what you said, they're such fanboys of whatever fighter you're talking about. It's hard for them to understand that you're disagreeing with them because this is how you see it, rather than them seeing it, like seeing your disagreement is like, oh, that's their perspective. That's how, you know, that's their take on what's going on. They see it as if you're like basically saying, man, fuck your fighter ain't shit. Da 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 da. Like, it becomes personal for most people, rather than being like, okay, I can kind of see where he's coming from. But it's the same thing in real life, though. It's like, it's the same translation in real life. Like, a lot of times you can't have this conversation with someone and you have a difference in opinion without offending someone, when you're not trying to offend them at all. You're not even thinking about offending them. It's like, this is just how I feel. I think that if most people understand that boxing is first and foremost a business, and they will understand why a lot of these potentially great fights won't happen. Good analyst. That's like the biggest hurdle in boxing. Right. That's something that I see like continuously when I go to like boxing channels and bigger boxing channels and things like that. Is like, the way that I see a quick way to build a boxing YouTube channel is to be a fanboy, right? To be like, okay, I fuck with this group of fighters, and no matter what anyone says, they don't do anything wrong. I'll never criticize them. I'm always going to be on their side. Da, 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 da. And then vice versa, or I'm with this promotional company, and if you talk about Top Rank and Bob Arum, fuck Top Rank Bob Arum. I'm like, that's not the truth. I'm like, if you're going to say something bad about this promotional company, you have to say something bad about the other promotional company, because it's all a business. Everyone is working out of the aspect of, how can I make the most money? And then to blame that on the fighters, it doesn't make any sense, because there's only a few fighters in this industry where they have control of making their fights. And one of them is Canelo. And he's literally an anomaly. Before that, it was Floyd, right? Someone else, like there's no one else making their own decisions when it comes to, if I fight this guy, it's my choice whether or not I sign the contract to fight him, right? And it's like people just don't want to acknowledge that. And it's easier not to acknowledge that, because it's a lot easier to argue with someone how my fighter is better than the person that you like as a fighter, and he fights everyone and yours is scared, rather than just saying, hey, you know, you like your fighter, I like my fighter. They're both skilled. They're both beasts, but we'll never know necessarily who's better, because the fight's not going to happen, not because they're scared of each other, but because it's business. Like, who the fuck trains for something majority of their life, and then when they get to the point where they can really prove themselves and find out what they train is really working, and say, nah, I'm scared of that dude, I'm not even going to test myself? Like, come on, man. That's what tells me most of these people who have those opinions are like, okay, you never consistently put work into something in your life, because you don't understand when you get the opportunity to showcase it, it doesn't matter of the air of illusion of if it may work or may not work. You're going to take the risk. It's also very good to hear people's opinions on fire, because we all disagree on things and their perspectives not open you up to where they're coming from. That's another thing. But see, that also comes with listening to someone without any type of emotional attachment to, you know, to what you're listening to. Like, so if somebody is, you know, has an opinion on your favorite fighter and you may not like it, rather than being like, nah, you're wrong, you're being like, well, I can see why you feel like Boo Boo is a boring fighter, right? I never get upset when someone says Boo Boo's a boring fighter. It's like, I can see why you think that, right? Whereas vice versa, I could tell somebody, oh, Canelo's a boring fighter. What? You just don't know. You don't like Canelo. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, that's just the world we live in when it comes to boxing. As boxing fans, you know, we know this, you know, but hopefully what, you know, we can do, you know, family, when it comes to this channel, when it comes to boxing, we can kind of open that up, man. We can try and create a lane where it's like, let's stop being in this aspect where we're saying he's ducking him, this type of things, all this type of things. But understand, one, first and foremost, that boxing is a business. It's all geared around what makes the most money. But then also, you know what I'm saying, just look at things realistically. Even if that means me saying, hey, Boo Boo Andrade is probably never going to get that Canelo chance, because Boo Boo Andrade probably cashed himself out. It's just a little too late. Like, I'm willing to say that, rather than saying, if Canelo doesn't fight Andrade, he's ducking him, he's scared to get beat, right? That sounds a lot better, right? That can get more people watching the videos. If Canelo's scared of Andrade, he'll never fight Demetrius because he knows Demetrius will knock him out. When that's not true. That's not true. Demetrius didn't do what he was supposed to do business-wide to make Canelo, or even any of the other 168ers, even in the 160s, take notice and say, hey, I'm going to take a chance to fight this guy because it's going to build on my legacy. It's just that simple, right? And that's what we're trying to move to. That's what we're trying to build here. That's the community we're trying to build. And also at the same time, you know what I'm saying, positivity, blessings, and all that good stuff. So I'm not going to be long-winded, even though I feel like I somewhat already was. I appreciate everyone came to the chat. I said for these Fluenceboxings, I want to keep them around 30 minutes. I'm 8 minutes past that. It's all good. It's all love. Y'all was hopping in the chat tonight, so, you know, allow me to kind of round on some extra things. I want to salute to It's Snipers. I appreciate you hopping up in this thing, dog. Keeping the conversation flowing. I want to salute to Robinson Rodriguez, man. Really liked your take on things. Appreciating you also hopping in the live chat and putting your opinion on there too. As always, I encourage that when it comes to these Fluenceboxing. I encourage, if you guys come in here, man, go in the, you know, in the live chat, say whatever you want to say. Let's get some conversation flowing. And then also when it's over, go ahead, comment. It really helps with the algorithm. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you, It's Snipers. Appreciate you, Robinson Rodriguez. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, so happy early Friday to everyone. I'm going to be back with another Fluenceboxing tomorrow. I'm going to talk to my guy Zen. I'm going to see if we're going to do another Fluence and Zen podcast tomorrow, hopefully. If not, y'all look out for your boy on Saturday, man. We got Fluence Lounge. Obviously, we got Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall happening on Saturday, so I'll be going live for that. And then we also got the Bobby Green Islam Makhachev card, so I'll be going live for that too. So y'all look out for Fluence Lounge on Saturday. Fluenceboxing is coming back hard and hidden tomorrow. We got some things we're going to discuss as well. But until then, man, nothing but love, nothing but respect to everyone. Hopefully everybody enjoys their night. Peace, blessings to everyone. Good night, dog. Robinson, enjoy your night. I hope to see you soon, brother, man. If you want to have a fun time, man, join the Fluence Lounge on Saturday, man. We get lit. It's good time up in that thing. But appreciate you coming up in here, Robinson. Nothing but love towards you. Appreciate you with Sniper. Please, before you guys leave, if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification gang, comment, all that good stuff. But I'm out of here. I got to get me some sleep. I got work in the morning. But nothing but love to y'all. Appreciate you coming in here. Y'all made it worth my while. That's why I love doing this shit, man. I love talking that talk, and I love just talking to the family, man, and chopping it up, man. It's nothing more, I don't appreciate nothing more than this, man. Y'all don't even know. So love, blessings, salutations.